Greetings, musical humans and self-aware individuals throughout the cosmos. My name is Robert.
And this is Josh.
And we are at A&G Central Music.
Right there.
And this is a conversation.
It sure is.
Potentially awkward.
Definitely awkward. What about?
Well, I thought we would just talk about your favorite thing today, Joshua.
My mom's homemade lasagna.
Negative.
Oh, wrong video?
I mean, there may be people potentially interested in your mom's homemade lasagna, but I'm not one of them. What I am interested in is practice.
Second favorite thing.
That's right. And I want to, I know that we've kind of covered some ground on practice in the past, but I do think it's important and it's germane to everything that we do in music. And so I would like to lay a little hypothesis that I have on you. And that is that it is possible to practice every single day, diligently, and be worse.
I agree with that. I think I have a lot of students that run into that.
No names.
I've run it.
We're gonna protect the innocent.
And I've even run into that myself.
Guilty.
For certain things. I think there's 2 or 3 ways that you can do that, and definitely some ways to avoid it.
So what are ways to avoid this? Well, let me ask you this. When practicing, what are some pitfalls that could potentially lead you to not improving and or being worse?
I think a lot of students get obsessed over just amount of time spent. Okay, so maybe they're like, I want to become a better trumpet player, and I'm going to get there by practicing 45 minutes a day.
It's the magic number, really.
And so
I'm going to practice 46 though, because I just want to be better than Josh.
That's going to be tough to beat. So you're spending that time every day practicing, but really you're just playing your instrument. Like maybe you're just playing your band music from last year.
Right.
Or just reviewing some stuff you're already comfortable with. And maybe you do a little bit of practice, but that type of practice that's not goal-oriented isn't going to push you as far as when you go into your session focused with specific goals.
Right. And another potential pitfall, even if you are being very intentional. Intentional is that a word?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Check your dictionaries, but what I meant was intentional. And so I'm going to intentionally make my point now, which is that
also a word.
Is a word on the Scrabble board, very powerful. You can practice something incorrectly.
Yeah.
Right? I've been guilty of this in the past. Like I'll have a passage in music that I'm really struggling with, and instead of breaking it down, even breaking down the phrase into parts just to make sure notes and rhythms are correct and then build it back up musically, which is what I try to do when I'm practicing with intention. Instead, I just try to blast through it and I play it. I'm like, well, if I play it 30 times, I'll obviously play it flawlessly, right? And I play it flawlessly the way I practiced it 30 times, which was the incorrect way to play it. Right? So sometimes it's appropriate to really slow down, break it down, make sure that you have everything correct, notes and rhythms first, obviously, but then learn to play it musically as well. Right?
Sometimes you just got to be patient with yourself too. So you might have a goal to learn this music passage in your 45-minute practice session. That might be unrealistic.
Right.
You might have to break that up over a couple of sessions.
So starting your practice session by laying out some goals that you want to accomplish, staying focused on what your goals are throughout your practice period and just being really intentional with your time may provide better practice than just saying, well, I'm going to work for 46 minutes so that I can be better than Joshua, right? I think another thing that holds us back sometimes can even cut into our desire to practice is the fact that we compare ourselves.
Right.
We compete and compare so often in music, and to our detriment sometimes. Do you know what I mean by that?
Yeah, I think for me as like an older player, I'd certainly compare myself to artists who are around my age that I'm like, whoa, look how good they are. Look where I'm at, you know.
And I've seen people who they have this level of like hero worship for an artist, and they go to a performance and they're so overwhelmed by what they hear that they kind of give up on me. Well, I'm never going to get there, right?
Right.
Like I've seen it. Whereas other people are just driven to work harder. It could
Right.
go both ways, and maybe neither way is the most valuable way
Right.
to approach things, right? And on a smaller level, I've certainly seen it with students that I've worked with, and in the past have been this student, where I look at like my section leader, the person playing first
Right.
chair, and I'm like, oh, I'm never going to be as good as that person,
And they're in the same grade as me.
and they're in this
Right.
right. And I think it's just important to consider the idea that we're all just on this continuum together.
Right.
Right? And that some people may be in a different place on this continuum, but it's not healthy, I don't think, too much for us to be competitive or constantly comparing ourselves to others. This is art
Right.
at the end of the day. And if everyone that painted was Picasso, we just have a bunch of weird paintings everywhere, right? And that may not be for everyone.
Right.
So
I agree.
it's okay to be your own artist and be where you are, wherever that is, and not put these judgments on it of I'm good or I'm bad or I'm better than or not as good as.
Right. And to me, there's something that's satisfying with the time spent playing my instrument, slowly meeting my goals and taking those baby steps towards where I want to be. That's like satisfying in a way to like my soul.
With all of the things that we've talked about, I think an idea that helps tie this all together is the idea of documenting.
Right. Yeah, definitely.
How do you do that for your practice? Do you use video or?
A little bit, well, not video, but I record and I have like a legal pad. I just kind of make notes in as I go and date it.
For me, because I walk around with, like most of us, with a cell phone in my pocket all the time, as part of my regular practice, I will shoot a little cell phone video of whatever the main focus of my practice is for that day or week, right? Because there's an arc to this whole thing. If you're breaking your practice up into little bits that are accomplishable tasks, right? Mm-hmm. Sometimes when we look at the great big picture, it seems insurmountable.
Right.
Right? If we look at, using the example that we used earlier about going to see our favorite artist and we see them up on stage and we're just amazed when we hear what they can do. You say, well, I can never accomplish that. Well, if you look at it from where you stand to where they are, sure, it seems like a lot, but if you break it down to these small bits. And so if you document your practice little bit by little bit, you'll be able to go back and you'll have the answer to, am I improving? Am I stagnant? Have I regressed?
Right.
Right?
That can be satisfying too.
It's satisfying and it's good to have that level of accountability, but you also then
Yeah.
right? You know how you're doing.
Yeah. And it's kind of good to start talking about this as the kids are kind of getting ready for solo and ensemble.
Solo and ensemble?
Well, it's coming up.
I thought you'd never bring it up.
Yeah, people are picking music now.
I bet they're really excited to hear about that.
Yes.
So you're going to hear about it in part 2. Part 2. Hey, listen, if you like this content and you think it's useful, hit the like button, follow the channel, and don't forget,
Practice?
practice.